So here we are in Vercel. I'm going to do a new project here. I'm going to import from our Git repository, and I'm going to import this to-do app Hazura. And that's all I want to do. And there's no team name for me and nothing special for environments right now. Go ahead and deploy that. So while that's deploying, let's talk about what we're going to do here. So part of the requirements is that you need to use a non-naked domain. And you've probably may have never heard of a naked domain. You may not know what it means. Essentially, a naked domain is something like https:/twitter.com. Here's an example right here. This is a naked domain versus www. is not a naked domain. So we're going to be using our domain that I've purchased for this course, and we're going to deploy it all out. So I'll meet you back once Vercel has finished deploying. So our project has now deployed, and I'm inside the project settings because I need to add the domain that we want to use. So you can add a domain here, and I've purchased one called todoappcrash.xyz for $1. So let's use that and say add this and redirect to this. What I actually want is this version here. Add this and redirect to www.todoapp.this, because what I want to do is have everything at this www version so I can use a non-naked domain with Clerk. So I click add, and it's going to say, hey, you have an invalid thing here. And we actually have a couple options here. You can actually use their DNS, and for this reason, I'm actually going to use the DNS, and I'll show you why in a second. So instead of doing this and being like, oh, this is annoying, we can actually just use the DNS and then take the DNS and make all the changes in Vercel all the time instead. So just add your DNS here. It's ns1 and ns2.vercel-dns.com. Click tick here, and that will update. And once it's updated, now our custom DNS is going to be this, which for me is great. So once that is done, might have to refresh a few times. It may take a little while to propagate, but once it's propagated, we can continue on. Awesome. So it's now deployed. Everything has been assigned. We've got our SSLs, everything like that. So now what we need to do is go to Clerk. So go to Clerk and go to your dashboard. Find the application that you're using. So today it's this one. And then we need to do this. Production is not yet configured. So we click this button and we say clone from development instance, and then we set the home host to whatever we want it to be. So for me, I want it to be www.todoappcrash.xyz. This. So just copy that and drop it right in here. And say clone from deployment, and then hit continue. And then what happens is that this is basically set up now, and we need to do a bunch of stuff to make sure it works the correct way. So I've read the documentation. I know how users are going to work. The integrations is on. The settings, email address, and then I actually don't want any SSO at all because I don't want to set it up right now. And that's it. Then I need to do a few things here in the URL. Everything is being pointed to the right place, so that's great. So we're almost at the home stretch. So what we need to do is make sure that we set these DNS records. So if you click this button, it will say, hey, we need you to add this CNAME, this CNAME, this CNAME, this CNAME, right? Which seems like a lot of work, but it shouldn't take too long to do. So add a Cname record for this, pointing to this. So inside of here, because our domain is being handled by the guys over at Vercel, it gives us the ability to actually do DNS records right in Vercel, which makes it super easy. You don't really have to worry about much. You can just add them all in Vercel, which is why I picked DNS records from Vercel. So You just got to add each one of these and each of the respective names, and then you'll be ready to go. And then we can talk about what happens next. So I'll meet you back once you've copied and pasted all of these down into your DNS records. But let me show you one from the beginning. So we want to add this name here in here and say name is this. It's a CNAME, and then what's the value? So we look here and say it's accounts.clerk.services. So we copy that. We drop it in here and we say add. And we need the TTL, so I'll put 60 seconds. And then click add. And you can ignore this error, this message that's showing up here. We are in fact using the name servers, so this is not a big deal. But go ahead, add all those, and I'll meet you back on the other side once we're done. So once you've done that and you've added all of these, if you hit the refresh button, you should get this verified stamp on everything. So that means that we know the DNS is good to go. So let's see if we have anything left to do before we continue on. So I can click this button basically you have to click every button for them to essentially allow you to do anything. And all of this stuff has already been done. I actually don't have OAuth enabled anymore. So let's apply those changes. Because we don't want OAuth because I don't want to set it up. But if you want to use it, go right ahead. Let's click this button real quick. I actually don't need this API key for what we've set up. And that should be all set. As far as I can tell. Yep. This is the home host. This is the back end host. Everything looks good there. And we should be good to go, assuming this part changes. And once this is updated itself, we'll get ready to click the deploy button. Okay, so we're ready to hit deploy. So go ahead and click the deploy button and just give it a few minutes. It's going to issue you a TLS certificate and the email server is going to be initialized. So once that's done, I'll meet you back here. So now this is deployed, what we need to do is update our Hasura. So take this front-end API and go here and click into this and change this section here to what we have as our option here. Making sure you include the / at the end and hit update. Now we've updated this, it'll apply those changes. And then the final thing that we need to do is in our Vercel integration is to add in our environmentals. So for that, we need to go to overview and find our application here, go to settings, environmental variables, and add the ones that we had previously in our project. So the ones that we had previously obviously don't include the new changes, but we're going to need this one, which will stay the same. So we can add that one really quick. So you can say example name, and then this version, and hit add. And then the final part we need is we need the next public Clark front-end API, which we can add. And then we need to find it in our Clark dashboard, which should be on the home page right here. So we can copy that and we can drop it right in here. And that should match similar to what we have here. And click add. And now we need to redeploy. So if you go to your deployment screen and just click redeploy and say deploy, that will redeploy the application for us. And at that point, we should be ready to test. So once this is done, I'll go ahead, launch the application, and show you what it looks like. So as you can see, this is a fully deployed application now. I can add stuff in here. So we can say test, add to-dos, and here it is. We can delete it. And we have our users here where we can sign them out and they get pushed back to the application. So the deployment is fully done now. So there's the end of the course. We've done the UI, we've done GraphQL, Hasura, Clerk, and we finished out with deployments. So if you did enjoy this whole course, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and help me out any way that you can and I'll see you in the next crash course.